46 years after Sir Stirling Moss won the Moroccan Grand Prix at Casablanca, Formula One has returned to the Arab world and for the first time ever to the Middle East. Welcome to the inaugural Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain in our Acura pre-race show. As you can tell, it is a very special day in the island kingdom of Bahrain as they welcome the world for the first ever Grand Prix in the Middle East. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Varsha alongside David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. There's a look at the spectacular new $150 million Bahrain International Circuit. Of course, with a new circuit come new challenges. One challenge for the drivers this weekend was just learning the track layout. And with the one engine rule in place, of course, the drivers wanted to limit their practice time to conserve their engine power. So how does a driver come to grips with a new circuit? We sent our Peter Windsor to find out.
Yes, clean sheet of paper for all the Formula One guys. Nobody had driven on this circuit before Friday practice. We took a bit of a survey around the paddock to see how drivers were approaching this inaugural Bahrain Grand Prix. Cristiano, Bahrain, from a driver's point of view, is a completely clean sheet of paper. How do you approach an all-new circuit like this? What is your preparation so far?
Well, the most you can do is you have to try to get a couple of laps around the track when it's possible. It's not always that it's possible, if best in a road car, because it's what you can get the most similar idea what the track's going to look like from the road car, from the race car. And, you know, walking around the track and running around the track, this kind of things helps a little bit. Usually you do a lot to get the first 5% out of the way, but still the other 95% is still only when you get on the track with the race car.
We had some simulations in the computer to know a little bit better the track and to know which gears to use in the corners, but for the driver point of view, nothing very different compared with a normal Grand Prix.
My simulation was to walk around before yesterday, but
You didn't look at any of the data and that's that the engineers put together?
not really. A little bit, but it's more. It's gonna never be the same once you go driving. It's always the proper way and the only way how you can really say and learn it. But before that, it's only like guessing a bit.
Normally it takes you about 15-20 laps to learn a circuit. After that you can go to the limit. But yeah, what I did before I went around the circuit with a road car to get an idea of the track.
The preparation I take is to know the infrastructure of the circuit, to know when is what corner, to see maybe some dangerous points where you can damage your car going wide or things like that. And that's I do going around the circuit, and that's it.
Going around the circuit on foot?
Scooter, it's easier.
Yes, it is a new circuit here in Bahrain, but have things changed very much? Perhaps a little bit. Christian Klein's performance extremely impressive in the Jaguar, but generally speaking, everybody was basically doing the sort of times they would have done had they been here 100 times before.
All right, thank you, Peter. Gentlemen, we'll have a lot of time to talk about the drivers, but at this point, the big story is this fabulous new track.
Well, of course, it is a fabulous new track, and of course, as Christian Klein said there, it does take about 20 laps to learn it for the drivers, but I couldn't believe how quickly they all went in that very first practice on Friday. I mean, they were right up to time almost straight away.
They were very quick, within about a second and a half on the Renault simulation, but again, what caught them out a little bit was that unknown Factor X, the grit from the tarmac, and once they'd put a few installation laps in, 5 or 6 laps later, they tweaked the aerodynamics on the car, and bingo, away they went.
Had a quick look at Connie Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya's wife, walking along with her father-in-law, Pablo Montoya. Up there on the 9th floor, that is reserved for the pleasure of His Majesty, the King of Bahrain. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Peter Windsor will take us on a tour of this fabulous new paddock, and we'll see what helps make this circuit so special. And welcome back to our Acura pre-race show for the historic first Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain. The Ferrari team working on Michael Schumacher's car, nestled safely on the starting grid. We've been talking about this new Bahrain International racetrack. By far the most expensive track on the Grand Prix calendar. So what will the equivalent of $150 million US buy you? We sent our Peter Windsor to find out.
Yes, welcome to Formula One's new race in the desert, the Bahrain Grand Prix, sponsored by Gulf Air. Fittingly, it has to be said. Interesting country, this. It looks as if most of the taxis are part of the Toyota Classic Car Club, but it's an interesting circuit. Obviously, it's very well organised. It's actually run by Philippe Gaujean, who's got tremendous experience with Magny Cours and with Paul Ricard, working there with Bernie Ecclestone. And equally, it's been designed by Mr. Tilke, who is responsible for Nürburgring, apart from many other new Grand Prix concept. So a lot of the things are in place already. They have experience, but nonetheless, here we are in the Middle East. Let's take a look and see what's going on in this remarkable new venue. Hallowed ground, this. This is where, of course, race control is based, Bernie Ecclestone office is based, and you can always judge a circuit to some extent on the state of its control tower. I think this says it all. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the media centre, because that too should be state of the Formula One art. Well, the media centre is unique in a number of ways. I think the most important is that it's got to be the only one in the world in which you cannot see any part of the racetrack whatsoever. We might as well be in the Hilton Hotel downtown, but if you just have a look there, you can see the number of TV screens and the sort of action that will be exposed to the journalists during the course of the weekend. Again, lots of plants, very nice to see that. Very impressive to see that they've got internet, broadband, wireless technology here. They had that in Malaysia, but they were charging $300 a head per journalist for it. Here it's absolutely free, as you'd expect, and that's an incredibly good thing. Generally speaking, fantastic. So the media centre, an amazing piece of architecture as well. Wouldn't look completely out of place amongst the Sphinx and the pyramids, I don't think. It's in keeping with everything else at the circuit here. Very tastefully done, very nicely done. And as I say, it is state-of-the-art in many dimensions.
Thank you very much, Peter. We should point out that Herman Tilke, who designed the racetrack, also designed the accompanying structures. There's George Lucas, the filmmaker, being squired around by Sir Jackie Stewart, and a member of the Bahraini royal family, I believe. But it must be said that the track really does capture the spirit of the desert world here in Bahrain.
They've done a fantastic job with the grandstands, with the buildings, with the pits and the pit offices. You know, everything has that Arabic look to it, there's no doubt about it. And the track itself, of course, is very technical for the drivers.
Key point there, Steve, one of the Renault engineers testing the temperature of the pit lane. The temperatures are much cooler on the racetrack than they have been the last couple of days as Eddie Jordan surveys his domain. Air temperature hasn't changed much, but the track is a lot cooler, and that would tend to favor the Bridgestone tires.
Yeah, it has dropped an awful lot since yesterday, and you're right, all the teams will be checking the tyre temperatures and the asphalt temperature as well. Whether or not it'll affect the Bridgestones or the Michelins now, I think the compounder construction has changed so much, Bob, that really these two tyres are pretty comparable now. I don't think the temperature change will really be a benefit or a disadvantage to either of them.
Big day for the man you just saw, Takuma Sato, who matched the best ever qualifying performance by a Japanese driver in Formula One. He'll be on the inside of row 3. When we return, Peter Windsor will continue with our tour of the circuit with the help of our good friends at Renault. So stay with us for that. Welcome back to our coverage of the Grand Prix of Bahrain. I'm Bob Varsha along with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett, and we have a drama down on the starting grid underneath Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not that fluid has come out from somewhere underneath the car. I certainly hope not, or whether or not something has been spilled, but we saw Ross Brawn quickly try and get the circuit staff over and put some oil dry down there and clean up. It's vital that that's cleaned away, because that's going to be exactly the point where the car's going to try and get most traction off the starting line. Remember, no launch control now to aid the car. It's all down to the driver's skill.
Well, he's already starting on the dirty side of this brand new racetrack, which should make things difficult. I don't know about you guys, but I detect a certain ratcheting up of the intensity down there on the starting grid. A lot of folks looking up at the sky, scuffing the pavement under their feet. People are very concerned about the start of this race. And we welcome you back to our Acura pre-race show. We've already seen the area of the circuit reserved for the media, so now let's check in again with Peter Windsor and another of the areas provided for the teams this weekend.
Well, I'm lucky enough to be inside the Renault pit area here, or it's difficult to describe actually what it is. It's in a gathering of different rooms. You've got a living room, we've got a kitchen, well, we've got all sorts of things. So Renault looking immaculate as ever. Quite lucky to have a few of the team members still here. It's only Thursday evening. Steve Nilsson, team manager, nice to see you, mate.
You too, mate.
What a place, eh?
Fantastic, unbelievable. Every time we do one of these flyaway races, it seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is no exception. This is amazing.
What's it like here for the team from an operational point of view? Can you just show us around a little bit and just see what sort of facilities you've got?
The engineering office, where we have the guys from Viri, the engine guys and the chassis guys, and all our technical meetings and briefings and debriefings happen in there. And there's generally around about 18 or 20 people in there all the time.
Pat Simmons didn't look too happy there. He thought there was some stuff on the screen, but we certainly didn't have the lens on that would show it. Well, Steve, I suppose there's only so much you can do with a garage area, and I guess the biggest factor is the size of them. How do these compare with other Grand Prix?
These garages are absolutely huge. I mean, they're 24 metres deep and each one is 7 metres wide, and we've got 4. So, I mean, you almost need a bicycle to get around it. It's not a complaint, but they really are enormous. It's difficult to see why you'd ever want bigger garages than this, but it's really, it just enables us to do a perfect layout, really.
What are the work conditions like here for the boys? Obviously it's going to be hot here, but it's a different sort of heat to Malaysia as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a pleasant heat here, really. Malaysia is very much sort of holiday weather. It's fine if you're lying by the pool, but to actually have to work 12 hours a day, it's tough, but it's much nicer here. It's similar temperature, but a lot drier.
Where will you be holding all your meetings when the guys get out of the cars, and the cars are operating from just the other side of the barriers there? Yeah. Where will they actually be debriefing? Here or in the air-conditioned rooms on the other side of the walkway?
Now, the drivers will go back over to the meeting room we just looked at over there, and they'll sit with the engineers and engine guys and so on, and just go through data and so on there. I mean, we do have screens that we can lower down to the car during the session. We can show them overlays and data in the car, but the main briefings and debriefings all happen back over there.
Well, very, very impressive, and this has really set a standard. As you said, it's now P1.
All right, thanks again, Peter. The seconds continue to tick away toward the start of the race. Quite a gathering of royalty in Bahrain this weekend. That's King Abdullah on the right, on the left, King Abdullah of Jordan. I'm always a couple of steps behind on my royalty.
And he's got his Jaguar umbrella. Free, I expect.
King of Jordan on the left, I'm told. On the right, a member of the Bahraini royal family. Whatever. We'll be back to the new Bahrain International Circuit in just a moment. There is Bernie Ecclestone holding court on the grid as we welcome you back to the first Grand Prix of Bahrain. Right now it's time to take a look at our Porsche track map with Steve Matchett.
All right, Bob, thanks very much. Let's have a look where we are this race. We are in Bahrain, 57 laps of this 3.3-mile track. Now, there are no high-speed corners here in Bahrain. The track is a mix of short and long straights, an abundance of heavy braking zones and acute low-speed turns. The corner exits are very wide, and that's going to put a lot of lateral load onto the tyres. Combine that with the brake wear, and you're going to see a lot of pit lane action. Well, there it is in 2 dimensions. David Hobbs, take us around in 3.
Well, to be actual, David Coulthard is going to take us around down the front straight here, up to over 200 miles an hour for the 2 Ferraris and the 2 BMW engine cars, down to turn 1. Very, very, very heavy on brakes here. Tight corner, first gear. Swooping out of there into this little quick left-hand flick and then another right-hand flick to lead you onto another pretty long straight. Get up to about 185, 190 miles an hour down here, then hard on the brakes for turn 4. Could be an overtaking opportunity there. It's very wide, this track. Basically, it's flat, but there's just enough undulation to make sighting some of these corners a little bit difficult. Swooping through 5, 6, and 7 here. Down to 8, which is another tight corner. I don't think we'll be seeing much overtaking there because they'll be spread out after those S's. And then 9 and 10 rolled into one into the other. 9's a quick approach to 10, so you're braking hard there while the car is already loaded to the right, so the left front's going to lock up, get some flat spots there. Along the short straight behind the pits. And then we go into turn 11, which is a very fast left-right sweep, 11 and 12. A little bit of undulation here, as you see, so it's just not quite sighted as they come up to turn 14, which is a pretty important corner because this leads on to another long, fast straight, leading down to the last corner. I don't think you're going to see much overtaking into that 14 or to the next one, 15, because 15 is a very wide approach, but it's somewhat double apex look about it. He's the first apex right there, and it swings wide. You're not going to see much overtaking there, but you want to have a good cornering speed, exit speed there to maintain maximum speed down this front straight here. Michael Schumacher said it's a very technical circuit, not as easy as it looks. It is beautifully wide, over 50 feet. I'm sure the surface should be pretty flat. But
it looks
grip,
simple.
Of course, is going to be. It looks simple, yeah.
It looks simple, but of course that's very deceptive. The problem is getting the mechanical parts of the car, the rear suspension and the tyres to hook up when the drivers want to put that power down early.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 really tight corners, so you need really good mechanical grip there. And of course, nobody knows exactly what sort of asphalt they are, so they had a bit of work to do on their mechanical grip. But of course, aerodynamics here are pretty important because you've got those long straights. But brakes are going to take a bit of a pounding here, aren't they? I think
brakes are going to take a huge pounding here. We saw it yesterday. A lot of brake dust coming out of the cars, and we understand that Ferrari manufactured some bigger brake ducts overnight ready for this race.
There's Jenson Button coming off his first career Formula One podium 2 weeks ago in Malaysia, getting ready to climb into his BAR, getting his earplugs in the old-fashioned.
Previously on Formula One.
Michael Schumacher has led every lap. Michael Schumacher picks up the victory. The incomparable Michael Schumacher picks up another victory. Michael Schumacher has dominated.
I'm in the best team it's around. It's Ferrari.
That is the Mercedes Ilmor engine. Bam, gone. Oh, Raikkonen. Oh, the second straight race.
Dash is a huge blow to his World Championship hope.
So much for the Iceman.
I'm not explaining how good my engine works.
All England will be riding with Jenson Button.
Boy, won't they ever.
As he seeks that first podium. Jenson Button will hold off Rubens Barrichello for his first career podium finish.
I'm ecstatic, and I can't wait to get back to the team.
The following takes place between 7:30 and 9 a.m.
For the first time ever, the Middle East welcomes the Formula One World Championship. And the World Championship welcomes a new host country as we welcome you to the fabulous new Bahrain International Circuit in the island kingdom of Bahrain for the first ever Formula One Grand Prix in the Middle East. Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha along with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. The cars are on the grid, the drivers are in the cars, and here is the way they'll line up. For the second time in 3 races this year, it's an all-Ferrari front row. Career pole number 58 for Michael Schumacher, starting alongside Rubens Barrichello.
Row 2 is all Williams BMW. Both cars were quicker than Schumacher until the last sector, and both were quickest through the speed traps. 4th is Ralf Schumacher's best grid position since Hungary last year.
On row 3, the teams keep coming 2 by 2. On the inside, Takuma Sato of Japan ties the best ever qualifying performance by a Japanese driver in Formula One. He'll be starting next to Jenson Button, coming off that first career podium 2 weeks ago in Malaysia.
In 7th spot, Jarno Trulli in the Renault, right about where he's been, and Alonso have been all weekend. And next to him, Olivier Panis in the Toyota, who just outbeat his teammate.
On row 5, that teammate, former kart champ car titleist Cristiano D'Amata, starts on the inside. On the outside, David Coulthard, and another tough weekend for McLaren Mercedes.
Row 6, Giancarlo Fisichella in the Sauber, out-qualifying his teammate for the first time this year. And next to him, young Christian Kleen in the Jaguar, who out-qualified his teammate Mark Webber for the first time.
On row 4, the second Sauber in the hands of Felipe Massa, next to Mark Webber, who was on the front row in Malaysia 2 weeks ago.
15th spot, Giorgio Pantano in the first of the Jordan Fawns, and next to him, Alonso in the second Renault, who had a horrible qualifying lap. Said it was brakes.
On row 9, Jimmy Bruni in the first of the Minardi's, starting next to Nick Heidfeld, who changed his engine on Friday and went to the back.
Back row is Kimi Raikkonen, who changed his engine Friday and chose to take no time. And next to him is Alt Baumgartner, who changed his engine after qualifying.
So we have time for one last break before the start of this historic Grand Prix of Bahrain. When we come back, the cars will be set to roll off. Join us in a moment. Welcome back to Speed Channel's live coverage of the first Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain. There is the front row. Michael Schumacher in the foreground. His 58th pole position, drawing ever closer to perhaps the one Formula One record he does not hold, and that is career poles held by the late Ayrton Senna. In the background, Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari. There's Kimi Räikkönen. He'll be starting well back in the field on the inside of the final row, row 10. And that will be one of the stories of this race as we go forward. There are a couple of very fast machines at the back.
So Kimi Räikkönen's mechanics pushing the car back away from his grid slot to try and lay some rubber down, but unfortunately it ain't worked for him at all.
And the car is at one of the Jags up ahead.
And he tried to lay a good bit of rubber down there for himself, didn't he, in the end? I think he was trying to...
Yeah, you saw the guys push the car back so he'd get that sort of jump off the line and be able to lay some rubber down, but it really didn't work for him. Almost as if he was close to bogging down twice.
Oh, that's a shame for Jimmy Bruni, because he was a lot quicker than his teammate, so now he's going to have to start from the pit lane at the very least.
What if it was a similar problem on the getaway? Something like what Mark Webber went through 2 weeks ago in Malaysia. Misjudged the grip. The car went into a stall.
Guys trying to put a lot of heat in the tyres here. We've got a very different weather conditions that we've had on Friday and Saturday. It's very cloudy, so we've got a high ambient temperature, but the track temperature is significantly lower than it's been. These guys trying to put some serious heat in those tyres.
Well, while the field makes its way around, let's take a look at the BMW storylines for today's race. David, why don't you kick things off?
Well, turn one, Shimozel, if that's how we spell it. We've got a lot of fast cars on the dirty side of the track here. Positions 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. are on the very dirty side of the track. And, of course, it's very wide, as you can see. This is very tempting for huge banzai effort into that turn one, which is slow. Let's hope we don't have one of those big carambolages at turn one.
Absolutely. For those cars that do survive anything that's going to go off down on turn one, we're watching John Walton, their team manager from Minardi, controlling things down there. Take control and take care of your brakes, because it's going to put a huge amount of load onto these brakes. Heavy braking zones all around this track, and we saw yesterday problems. I mean, as I said at the top of the show, Ferrari manufacturing brake ducts overnight to try and keep things cool.
On board one of the Jaguars, for my part, I'm going to be watching the guys at the back, specifically Kimi Räikkönen starting 19th and Fernando Alonso starting 16th. And hopefully we'll be able to watch them as they come forward.
They might have a bit of a problem when they come up against Mark Webber, who's starting 14th, who one assumes he's going to go better in the race than he went in qualifying. So he could be a tough guy to get by.
Well, Alonso is on the dirty line. Räikkönen will be on the clean line. Recall 2 weeks ago in Malaysia, where Fernando Alonso started at the back and came rocketing through, made up about 7 or 8 places by the first turn. Pretty exciting stuff.
I'm fully expecting him to make up a lot of ground here, but of course it's nice and wide. But of course you can't go too far offline, because all that clag still out there, all the rolled up rubber.
Let's take a look at the weather conditions, and the most important factor, I would think, Steve Matchett, is that track temperature, about 40 degrees lower than what it was in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, it has dropped down an awful lot, and actually that will aid McLaren enormously. I was watching earlier on the world feed, and McLaren have made some big bodywork modifications to the back of the MP419, putting some gauze on and removing bodywork to try and get the heat extracted from underneath the bodywork, I think primarily because of those engine failures. Looking at the McLaren crew there, I'm wondering whether or not they're getting ready to do a very early stop and probably refuel the McLaren.
We just saw Patrick Head a few moments ago looking very grumpy as usual, and apparently yesterday afternoon he was absolutely furious that his guys didn't get at least one of them on the front row, because they both made mistakes.
Look at all the tension in those faces. The lights are on. Turn up the volume. From the Ferraris, a Williams around the outside. Can't get there.
Not going to be able to make it with that little left-hand sweep. Boy, Rubens Barrichello was lucky to stay in front of Montoya. Oh, here comes Schumacher, who made a bad start. Got pushed, shuffled back in the field.
That's Ralph going under Jarno Trulli in the Renault. There's a BAR in fourth, and it's Takuma Sato Great start for the Japanese driver.
Jordan going down the outside there.
Oh, that's
Cristiano
Yamada. And again, immediately, look how much dust he's dragged onto the track.
Here's Kimi Räikkönen, the guy you were looking for. Bob.
He's up to 14th. Whoops, he loses a couple of spots, though.
Tried to go around the outside on that tight left-hander, turn 10, it didn't work.
He's truly getting back.
And there's Christian Klein right up the chuff of David Coulthard. Not what David Coulthard's expecting at all. Mark Webber back there, made up a bit ago.
Oh! Giorgio Pantano in the Jordan Ford. Oh, big puff of smoke.
And it was engine smoke, it wasn't tyre smoke, I don't think.
Unless he had a bit of lockup there. Coming around to complete lap 1 of 57 scheduled around this 3.37 mile circuit.
Whoa!
Is
that Kimi Räikkönen? I bet. Got to be involved in that somewhere.
It's Webber. We saw some of these sorts of defensive drifts, you might say, at Malaysia before he finally spun out of the race.
Renault getting ready for a nose change on one of their cars.
Suspect it'll be Alonso, won't it?
Yeah, Fernando Alonso. You can see the number 8 on the nose, so getting ready for Alonso.
There's Massa in the Sauber.
Well, so much for my dirty line theory. Rubens Barrichello still managed to beat Montoya to turn 1 there, and of course they're hanging on to that position as they go through. Alonso here, unscheduled stop. This is not going to be good for him.
It should be about 18 seconds.
Just shows how absolutely vital that qualifying is. I mean, it just... That's the weekend right there. That hour session on Saturday is the weekend.
I don't think they put any fuel on board Alonso's car when they changed that wing, which kind of indicates to me that they've got a lot of fuel on board anyway. I wonder whether or not we're going to see Renault try and do a 2-stop strategy here. We know that that Renault chassis is very kind to its tyres, and if any team can pull off a 2-stop strategy, as we saw last race, it's going to be the Renault team that'll try it.
That's Räikkönen. Michael Schumacher drawing away.
Montoya 3rd, Sato 4th.
I saw the urgency from both of the Ferrari drivers to make sure that the Williams cars did not get ahead of them, go down into turn 1. Both those guys locking up on the out of the start.
But the McLaren Mercedes not able to pull away from the Jaguar.
Christian Klein having a look at every way there. Very comparable on power by the look of things. In fact, if anything, just slightly better.
I imagine, Bob, that the McLaren has got a lot more fuel on board here. Relative to the Jaguar's pace.
So Räikkönen's made up 6 spots in those first couple of laps. There goes Klein down the inside of Kimi Räikkönen, but outbrakes himself. The classic overtake on brakes. But it's nice to see Christian Klein. Good God,
isn't it? Wow, look at those brakes light up.
Rise to the fight.
It's only his 3rd Formula 1 race.
Yeah. It is. You're absolutely right, David Hobbs. It's very easy to dive down the inside. It's easy to get into trouble. It's how do you pull the manoeuvre off afterwards,
Here we go, down the inside. Good moves. Oh, good. Oh, sod it. Locked it all up.
Now, if you're new to Formula 1, this isn't like other forms of racing where they just load up the cars full of fuel and send them out there. There are very intricate pit strategies at work here. And as we've already suggested, Kimi Räikkönen and the McLaren may have a big fuel load, hoping to run more laps than his opponents, pit on a clean racetrack, maybe do a 2-stop strategy as opposed to a 3.
Well, Kimi Räikkönen has made up ground, but he's not rushing through the field like we thought he might.
Let's have a look at the start, David.
Has Alonso all the way out to the pit wall, and I think that was Mark Webber taking him there just as he did in Malaysia.
Now, both of those Ferraris locking up those tyres.
Big flat spot there. Now,
Williams there thinking, no, now's the time. Ferrari, no, you're not going to do it.
Good start by Sato, challenging Montoya for 3rd. On board with Räikkönen.
Boy, that's engine of Pantano smoking there.
Yeah.
Kimi Räikkönen here just got his shoulders hunched, waiting with a big belt up the back. Somebody. Well up to the nose of Alonso.
Oops, we apologize for the technical problem.
On that last lap, the gap between Schumacher and Barrichello, 3.3 seconds. That's a second a lap that Michael's pulling out over his teammate.
Already out to more than 7 seconds over third place Montoya.
Well, I wonder how long it's going to be before Christian Klein runs right into Kimi Räikkönen. It can't be long.
Oh! Shame on you.
Räikkönen getting very wide.
Let's have a look. The old Jag, you know, with that toe, getting a bit of a toe. It's doing the trick. And goes down the inside. Oh, dirty line. Oh! Pulls it.
Same thing again. Exactly the same.
Good on him.
And of course, he had to lift to go for that left-hand sweep, so he's got to do it all over again. Boy, I tell you. He can smell it, though, can't he?
Interesting to see the line that Räikkönen was taking down the main straight there. He pulled off the racing line over towards the middle of the track and then dived back to the left.
Well, of course, he wanted to stay on the clean side, and he forced Clean over to the outside, or to the unclean side, but he managed to, and of course, he well out braked him. Look at that gap already, the Rubens Barrichello, and the gap from Barrichello back to Montoya. There's Takuma Sato under pressure from Ralf Schumacher, and then right behind him is Jarno Trulli.
Well, Montoya is on the softer compound of the Michelin tyres. Now, again, as we're saying at the top of the shop, I don't think there's much difference now heat-wise between the Michelin and the Bridgestone tyres, but certainly between the different compounds, hard and soft. Montoya will want the temperature to stop cool to really optimise the use of those soft compound tyres. He won't want the track to increase in temperature.
Ralf Schumacher making a big ground on braking there for Takuma Sato. Look at those that nasty-looking sky in the background.
I don't think we'll see sun at any time soon.
I guess the thing is, are we actually going to see rain? It did rain a bit this morning. Look at Schumacher right under the wing of Sato. The BMW is quick. Oh,
no.
Too late. She cried.
Well, this BAR chassis, David, is absolutely transformed over the last couple of weeks. They've got new rear suspension on the car they've been developing down at Paul Ricard. Of course, massive amount of grunt in the back of the Honda. Let's have a look at it here.
He tries to go down the inside. He's quicker down the straight. The BMWs were quickest on the straight yesterday, which is one of the things that made Patrick Head so mad. Well, it wasn't really a chop. I mean, he was well and truly in front, but because you've got to be very careful on that sort of stuff. It's all very well shutting the door, but it's no good shutting it when it's too late, because you're both out then.
Michael Schumacher with the fast lap of the race, 130.6. That's not off what they were running in qualifying.
Right.
And he's about to lap Baumgart.
Lap 5, that gap between Schumacher and his teammate Barrichello now at 4.4.
And Jenson Button actually losing ground to Jarno Trulli slightly. This is a furious battle between Ralf Schumacher and Takuma Sato. Takuma Sato had a miserable year in Formula 1 his first year, 2 years ago with Jordan, what with breakages from the car and a few really bad mistakes of his own. There he goes again, Christian Klein having another go.
This is fantastic. Keep after it, son.
Yeah.
Coulthard actually down in 10th, dropped back to 10th, and I'm thinking both of the McLarens as we've seen in the past. Oh, Ralf is Schumacher off.
Well, Jenson Button will be glad to see that. Patrick Head will not. Oh, did he just have an off, or is he's coming back, isn't he? There's David Coulthard under tremendous attack from Mark Webber.
Olivier Panis has pitted the Toyota from 11th. Well, Ralf Schumacher's contract pas de deux with the Williams team continues. He's having trouble getting back up to speed, but that may just be grit on the tires.
Let's have a look.
Tries to go down the inside. Oh, look at that understeer coming.
Push. Oh, Sato wasn't giving up.
Right, so Sato nudged him. Yeah,
he's probably suffered left rear suspension.
Here's the shot.
Let's have a look at it.
He just knows. Right. It's too late to shut the door.
There. Well, there it is, yeah.
Well, Sato really had nowhere to go at that stage. This is side by side here. Now he's going to turn left here. Now Sato can't obviously go any more left.
Ooh. He's got that pylon ahead. One of the ironies of this track is there is massive runoff, but you can see just how dusty it is.
Well, I guess
you don't want to get off.
I guess you'd have to put that down to a racing accident. Very hard to point the finger of real blame to anybody there.
Both cars appear to be mechanically all right, but that's hard to believe.
That was a pretty stout belt, wasn't it?
While we're watching, Ralf Schumacher, his brother,
Ralph Pitts,
has set first fastest lap and fastest sector times in all 3 sectors.
We talked about that in qualifying, about how Michael was having trouble putting one solid lap together. He's having no problem now.
He did a 30, he's just done a 30.2 and he did a 30.13 in qualifying.
There's a new view of a pit stop.
Yeah, fantastic camera shot there. There's a guy checking around the wing, but what a bit more concerned.
Oh, Raikkonen again.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Now that is without doubt kablamo. Look at that thing go.
Complete engine immolation.
Wow.
Oh dear, poor old Kimi Raikkonen, his world champion. Look at Norbert Hubbard there, who's the head cheese at Mercedes-Benz Worldwide, shaking his head.
Yeah, Jürgen Hubbard, the outgoing chairman.
Heads will be rolling soon in the McLaren Mercedes tie-up.
His successor is here as well.
Look at this thing go here.
Look at the brake dust coming out of that Christian Clean car.
Clean got out. Clean got out from behind him just in time before that thing went on afterburner. Watch what it does to the rear wing.
Boy, oh boy, barbecue night at...
careful how you treat that, man.
Don't get too close if we give you a bunch of 5s. Here's Mark Webber under pressure.
Look at the
David Coulthard. I just said that brake dust is... You're right, the brakes are taking a heck of a pounding here.
This is 7th and 8th. Webber and Coulthard with Fisichella just behind. We'll take a quick break and return to the drama of the first Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain. Stay with us here on Speed Channel. Welcome back live to the Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. Michael Schumacher has just pitted for the first time in this race. There you see Juan Pablo Montoya. This was Michael Schumacher coming in for his stop.
Now, if he's going to be on a 3-stop strategy, which we predict he will be, we need about 5.5 to 6 seconds of fuel in the car. That'll see him good to go to about lap 25. There it is.
Great launch after the fuel hose came out. Now this, whoa, we had a quick look at Rubens Barrichello in the pits, and here's Montoya. Rubens back out in the pit lane. Oh, a little trouble on the getaway for the Colombian. And just before we came back from break, as you see Felipe Massa bringing the Sauber in, David Coulthard pitted, and as he came out, he was right alongside Mark Webber, and those two went wheel to wheel the length of the pit lane before DC got the spot on the exit.
And if you remember the pit lane speed limit, boy, that must be so difficult when you're going down pit lane not to duke it out on the pit lane.
Let's take another look at that action. There's Webber on the left, DC on the right. They're back on the gas. Wow.
On board now with Mark Webber, right behind David Coulthard. And here's the two Hondas, which Michael Schumacher has now picked up behind. He came out in 6th spot, but we've had some more pit stops since then, but he's going to have his work cut out to get around either of these two guys.
So the race leader is Takuma Sato. The first time in history a Japanese driver has led a Formula One race.
And certainly the first time in history that BAR Honda have been 1 and 2 in the race, because Button is lying 2nd, Schumacher's 3rd.
It was a great stop for Michael. Now more pit stops. Yeah. Sato pits from the lead. I'm not sure this team looked a little unready for this.
Yeah, they weren't prepared for Sato coming in. I think they expected Sato to do another lap, so probably a little bit of radio miscommunication for whatever they're ready now.
Now don't look for that leader stat for Sato in the history books, because he didn't come around and cross start finish, but he was P1 until he pitted.
That's 7.5 seconds of fuel in the car. Interesting to see the mechanics just checking around the right front suspension on Sato's BAR, around the carbon suspension for any damage, but Clearly none found in the car, sent back into the fray. Sato should be good to go to about lap 28 now. Ralf Schumacher, very quick stop for Ralf when he came in. Only about 5 seconds of fuel on board. We should expect to see Ralf back into the pits on around lap 22. So it's all really playing out to be a 3-stop strategy. That's going to make these 3 sprints extremely quick. Here again, the BAR mechanics getting ready at this time, we assume, for Jenson Button.
This would explain why Jenson Button was just a hair slower than his teammate in qualifying. He obviously had enough fuel for another couple of laps.
Right.
Which you so adroitly pointed out yesterday.
Well, one try.
I mean, obviously.
In he goes. Michael Schumacher regains the race lead.
Throwing up a tear off.
Nice and steady, boys. This team has absolutely changed out of all recognition, hasn't it?
Well, it's taken David Richards a little bit of time to get it where he wanted it.
Lap trouble, the rear jack. Couldn't get the rear wheels down.
Oh dear, he doesn't need that. That is catastrophic.
I would imagine his teammate will go by. There he is, just following the Jordan. He'll come out behind Takuma Sato.
But he did get out in front of Coulthard and Webber.
Notice Nick Heidfeld, P5, hasn't made a pit stop yet, but he started at the back, and he's up well into the points-paying positions. What have we here? Felipe Massa on the right, Christian Klein on the left.
And Felipe Massa gives best there. That's where Takuma Sato and Ralf Schumacher had their coming together. And I guess that Felipe decided that discretion was a better part of valor. But again, not very far offline. And just see how much dust gets kicked up.
It was back in 14th place. Meanwhile, serenely on his way, Michael Schumacher, the 6-time and reigning world champion.
With about an 11-second lead.
Woo! Heidfeld and Takuma Sato. Here's Button trying to take advantage and just blows by. Wow! Heidfeld must be light on fuel, but still no sign of the kind of speed you need to contend. He's back in 6th. There is Schumacher on board with Ralf, having a bit of wheel-to-wheel with one of the Renaults, Fernando Alonso perhaps. And Ralf comes off second best.
That is indeed. Ooh. Wow, that was a bit close, wasn't it? Same place for Ralf. He's thinking not going to twice, once bitten, twice shy, I think.
That was for 15th place.
Nick Heidfeld finally pulls in.
Michael Schumacher has led more than 1,000 laps more than his nearest rival in the Formula One record books. 4 and 10, Ralf and Takuma will be investigated after the race.
Well, I'd have to say that was, I don't know who you'd point the finger at blame. I mean, you could say that Ralf Schumacher had made the pass, but on the other hand, by the time they came out of the corner, he had done the same thing as we saw Christian Klein do earlier on. He lost a lot of momentum coming out of the corner. Sato picked it up, and they were side by side going to that little left-hand kink. Sato did have his wheels right up on the curb, couldn't go any further left.
On board with Ralf Schumacher.
Trying to come to grips with Fernando Alonso. Or even Fernando Alonso. Or Fernando Alonso.
That's the man.
It's that 14, the slight crest as you come up to it. And you're braking hard, going through that right-hander. You brake hard at a couple of places here where you're already going through corners.
Ralf and Jarno Trulli will be excuse me, Barrichello and Jarno Trulli. All this investigation after the race makes the results unofficial.
Why do it? Horrible rule they've got. I just don't understand the sense of it, all the logic behind it at all.
Why do it? The fans will go home not knowing the final results of the race? That's insane.
I think what they want to do is put points onto their super license after the race. So hopefully, Bob, how the new system should work, although with the FIA you could never be certain, is that that will not affect the results of this race, the incidents, Bob.
Well, now that all the pit stop action has stopped for the moment, let's take a look back at the plight of Kimi Räikkönen, a preseason championship contender, but it's all gone wrong in the first 3 races. This was the season opener in Australia, just a handful of laps into the race. This was 2 weeks ago in Malaysia, where a corner worker got the sharp end of the very irate Finn's temper. In Friday practice, more engine problems. He neglected to run a lap in final qualifying, started from the back, spent the day jousting around, trying to work his way forward before his Mercedes let him down big time. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Moments ago, this was Christian Klein running 12th at the time, just behind Cristiano Damada in the Toyota, but he spun it off.
What a shame, because he was going so well earlier on when he was duking it out with Kimi Räikkönen. He was taking all sorts of liberties, but managed to hang on then.
I'll tell you exactly what caught Klein out there. He's been adjusting his brake bias towards the rear. I think they're struggling with front brakes wearing out too quickly. Klein had adjusted the brake bias towards the rear, and if you get another chance to have a look at that, you'll see that the rear brake disc is still glowing under lockup, and I think the back end just came round.
Ooh, another off up ahead. Is that Sato getting off and on? Hang on, Mr. Cameraman. And Jenson Button, his teammate, will go by. Meanwhile, here's a brace of Jordan Fords running 16th and 17th. Nick Heidfeld running behind his teammate, the rookie, Giorgio Pantano of Italy. If you're just joining us, Michael Schumacher leads on lap 17 of 57. Over Rubens Barrichello by 12.1 seconds.
Oh, front wing damage on Sato's car. You see to the left side of Sato's wing and the right side.
Dragging,
The main element is about to come off that car, I think. Although it's now lifted up. I wonder if he's got suspension problems
as well. I think he does. Yeah, the left front is drooping.
The car is bottoming out under heavy braking.
That'll do it.
Something heavy fell off there, left a lot of smoke, not just dust.
And it looked like his plank was dragging at the front.
I wonder whether or not he's had pushrod failure or damper failure on the car. Under braking, the whole front of the car is drooping down. That's what's causing the problems on it. That just takes all the downforce straight off the car, of course, so you've got no steering input onto it and turns the car into a surfboard. Oh, this is. Whoa, you want to back right off there, son.
Well, I wonder if that's a result of that wheel banging incident with Schumacher very early on.
Well, he ran it down the cheese grater on the curb.
Sato, you want to back off. I'm telling you.
Alonso, you ride in the Renault. That's Felipe Massa fighting over 12th place.
And this again demonstrates just how absolutely vital that qualifying is. Here he is fighting out for 12th. Meanwhile, his teammate is in a relatively untruffled 4th. Fair long way in front of Jenson Button.
Kimi Räikkönen is out of the race.
Well, there you can see the work on Sato's car.
No, look out!
Careful. It's all, calm down. Calm down. That's what it's all about.
You can't calm down.
Great performance out of the car, and it's catching him out a little bit. Of course, it's frustrating when Sato's had this problem, but it's all a matter of just taking a deep breath.
Felipe Massa holding up Alonso, which of course has allowed Ralf Schumacher to come rushing up on both of them.
Wow, this is fast and frantic, this Bahrain race one.
Sato's pit stop means this is now for 11.
This is one of the troubles with these circuits that move around. It's very difficult to really get yourself set up for a pass. See, he sucks himself up under the wing there, got a good draft going, but he couldn't really realistically expect to go down there. And then, of course, you've got that horrible little left-hand sweep into that tight left-hander. Now we're going to come to turn 11, which... Ooh, he's going to go down the inside. No, it's too fast, that one. Meanwhile, Ralphie's looking for a way to get around them both. Okay, this one's going to be difficult too, because you brake, again, you brake on the skew here. Now, he could do with a good draft down here to turn 15, but he's just a little bit too far back now. Look for Schumacher to go by on the inside here, I would be saying. No, look for Ralph Schumacher to go by on the inside as they go down to turn 1.
Now, it's not closing. Oh, they're having a look, David, you're right there.
Well, he just didn't happen. He wasn't quite close, I think. I thought Ralphie would be close enough to... No. Boy, Alonso's getting frustrated now because he knows that if he could get round him, he'd be a lot quicker. And he also knows that Ralph Schumacher's got more legs than he's got. And if Schumacher gets around him, he'll never be able to get him back.
That Sauber has the Ferrari drivetrain, very quick in a straight line.
See that? I don't know why this guy Tilke that designs all these circuits has those irritating little swerves into the tight corners. This is going to be a difficult one to pull off here.
He's committed.
Well, he's going to do it, but he could go wide on exit.
No. Massa loses both places.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier, Bob, about the Sauber being quick in a straight line. Massa has been over 203.6 miles an hour down the straight line. So yeah, they've got a huge amount of grunt and not much wing on the car. Which probably should do with a little bit more wing on the car around here to help them in those braking zones. I'll tell you what, I'd be interested. I'll get back onto that thought. David, take us through this.
He comes up on the inside there, coming down to turn 11, which is a pretty fast left-hander, but he's well and truly committed, and Felipe Massa decides that discretion is the better part of valor. Goes wide, gets out onto the dust and the gravel and the rolled-up sand and rubber, and loses enough pace that Schumacher goes through as well.
No team loves that. Michael Schumacher leads, but back in 4th place, Jarno Trulli is flying. He has closed up on Juan Pablo Montoya, and that battle is just beginning. Stay with us.
Speed Channel's coverage of the FIA Formula One World Championship is brought to you by the all-new BMW X3 sports activity vehicle. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Welcome back to Speed Channel's live coverage of the first Formula One race ever in the Middle East, the Grand Prix of Bahrain. With Steve Matchett and David Hobbs, I'm Bob Varsha. We're watching the race-leading Ferrari of Michael Schumacher, who has a 14-second lead over his teammate Rubens Barrichello. We expect the second round of pit stops shortly. Both Toyotas have already pitted. Comes Felipe Massa with Takuma Sato all over the back of him. Sato having repaired front-end damage to his car.
Yeah, I'm surprised, I have to say, that Sato was able to continue. It looked to me like he had some suspension problems, not just the wing, but...
I think the nose was just drooping, wasn't it? Maybe it wasn't the front suspension that was down, it was just the nose that was drooping down.
I apologise for that, and I apologise for the BAR team as well.
Well, you should do.
Love means never having to say you're sorry. There's a look at the running order on the left. Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Juan Pablo Montoya, Jarno Trulli, Jenson Button. Ooh. Then David Coulthard, who is up to 6th. Mark Webber, Giancarlo Fisichella, Fernando Alonso, and Ralf Schumacher. DC is in.
David Coulthard. Let's have a look at those brakes.
Mark Webber is also in the pits. Remember, they came out together wheel to wheel last time.
I think that Coulthard's going to be well clear this time.
Yeah, we're right in that stage of the race now, Bob, as you were saying. Lap 23 to lap 25 is where we should see that flurry of activity of people going into the pits, and it's starting to happen.
Webber's coming back out. He's coming out behind Sato.
We should expect our race leader right here. Yeah. Speak of Michael Schumacher, and he shall appear.
There's the rubber he's laid down, drag racing style, to get great rubber-on-rubber contact and a big launch out of the pit. Another seamless stop for the Ferrari crew, or at least Michael's Ferrari crew. The last 40 races, Schumacher has fallen out of a grand total of 1. That was at Brazil, when he slipped off track, got into the tire wall. Ooh, falling into 3rd place.
That was a bit risky.
We should expect to see his teammate Rubens Barrichello and Montoya in the FW26 Williams start to pit for that 2nd round, probably next lap.
We talked about the woes of Kimi Räikkönen, who a year ago at this time had 24 points and was leading the World Championship. Right now, he has none. The last time Michael Schumacher's Ferrari let him down was back in 2001 in France. In Germany, excuse me.
Ralf Schumacher in the FW26 pits for his 2nd stop. I think he was carrying a little bit extra fuel on board. Ralf came in early because of that little bit of accidental damage. Didn't take on a full quota of fuel. He certainly had more fuel on board, so that'll work out good for him.
See that Ferrari has junked plans to take the brand public, despite the fact that, according to the internet sources, Ferrari is the most searched brand in all of the world. And yet they've decided not to go with an IPO.
There's Montoya, I think, no. One of the Renaults, and truly, I think Montoya as well. Let's have a look.
Ralf Schumacher has pitted and out.
Well, certainly, truly. A little bit of downforce adjustment going on to the front wing to try and cure that understeer on the right-hand flap. Go.
Good stop there.
Yeah, so I should correct that. Montoya did go past the pits. He's going to have to come in soon. They ain't going to have many fuel left.
Jaguar off. Is that clean again?
Clean, going. Wow.
Nope, that's Mark Webber. Truly back on in 5th. Barrichello assumes the race lead. David Coulthard doing well, 8th, the final points paying position, having made 2 stops. Boy, McLaren could use a lift. They need points so badly.
Oh, don't they ever.
But one of the Jordans is in the pit.
I'll tell you what, if I was in charge of McLaren, and I'm glad I'm not at this stage, I would be seriously considering getting the last year's car out, the MP417D. Scrap this thing, get some points on the board and test it till it's reliable.
But they seem to have such a problem with the engines as well at the moment, which is kind of unlike them and Mercedes.
Here is Montoya for his 2nd pit stop.
Good one.
Yeah, really. I don't know what's happening at McLaren. It's absolute disarray. Oh, they've got problems. They've got problems on the car. Very slow getting away on the left front. You see the left front gunman. They have fluorescent gloves, the gunman, so that the chief mechanic, in this instance, Alistair Gibson, can see that the hands are pulled clear, an indication to him to let the car go. But there was problems on that stop. Things not going at all well down in BAR, despite the pace of the cars.
So with Montoya's stop, Michael Schumacher now up to 2nd. There's his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who we expect in the pits this time around.
This is shuffling up the order. Fisher Keller is now in the pits for the first time, and he is lying 6th. And Takuma Sato, who's back in 9th, is going to benefit from all this because he's made his stop with that wing change.
So in comes Barrichello. Look for about 5.5 seconds, 6 seconds of fuel delivery.
Fuel door opens automatically.
That'll do it.
Speaking of Ferrari, I was going through the promotional materials for this race, the first Middle Eastern country to begin pumping oil many, many years ago. One lucky fan at this race is going to go home with a bit of a door prize, a brand spanking new Ferrari 360 Modena. Wow.
That's pretty cool. Prize.
Thank you for coming. Drive home carefully. So Michael Schumacher is back up top. Giorgio Pantano watches the world champion go by, not without a little wave of the right front Bridgestone. We'll take a break and return. Welcome back to the island kingdom of Bahrain. This is Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso battling for 8th place in the final championship points-paying position. I apologize, as we went to break, that was Rubens Barrichello passing Giorgio Pantano. Michael Schumacher, the race leader, has lapped. Well, timing and scoring just went blank.
Well, these two are really
Michael's going really quickly.
Do you think Alonso's trying to get around him?
I think it is, yes.
Whoa! Like it.
Is that a brake check?
Is that a brake? It looked a bit like it, didn't it?
Webber missed the apex. I think he's driving his mirrors.
Now, remember what happened to Christian Klein? Oh, there's a brake just as well. That's going to back up what I'm about to say. Remember I was talking about Christian Klein adjusting the brake bias towards the rear on that car, and I think that caused him to spin off. I think Webber's got exactly the same problem here. And of course, Renault engineers Pat Simmons will be perfectly aware of what's going on with the brake wear and forcing the pace.
Alonso went wide on that turn 11, lost his momentum and went wide going in there, so he's going to have to struggle like heck to re-catch Mark Webber.
Yeah, watch
Very engine. I guess the engines are pretty evenly matched. The cars within the Jag and the Renault in the Renault. Down to that very tight turn 1. Mark Webber definitely got a wide car. He had a very wide car in Malaysia. Tucked under the wing now. Alonso trying to get a draft.
Well, stay with it, Mr. Director. These two have a history. Goes Olivier Panis. Here comes Felipe Massa with Ralf Schumacher just behind him. Excuse me, Fisichella with Schumacher just behind him. Of the Ralf variety. That's for 11th.
Now, Ralf Schumacher not having a... Whoa, here goes Alonso. No. This is that irritating little left-hand sweep that comes before that corner. Up to 11. This is where he got past Felipe Massa going, no, Webber's not having any of that.
Webber's going to develop a reputation here that he's not going to want to reflect on when he puts his grandchildren on his knee.
Push, push. No.
Yeah, he's a bit closer than he was last time. Now Alonso needs to concentrate on making a good job of this turn 15 so he can get really under the wing going into turn 1. But he didn't. Mark Webber pulled a bit of distance on him there. Again, you saw that huge cloud of brake dust coming out of Webber's front disc as they stopped down at 15. He's not close enough. There's again.
Side by side. Nope. Alonso gets by. Now, well, it is a race after all. Report from the corner is Webber went wide, perhaps looking at his mirror just that little instant too long.
That's the trouble when you drive too defensively. You definitely lose time and ultimately can catch you out. Now he's got around him. Alonso's going to pull away.
Here's another look. Oh, this was him waving earlier.
This is at turn 11.
As I say, it is a race after all.
Takes a tighter line there and comes off much quicker, but just not quite quick enough to be able to get right by before the road changes direction again.
Let's see if this was the pass. Yep.
Boy, holds.
Oh, wow. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's one thing to dice. It's another to do that sort of thing. Remember, that's what caused Ralf Schumacher problems in Malaysia 2 weeks ago. Well, it doesn't look nearly as tight there. All right, I give up. You drive the car, Mark. We'll take a break and return with more live coverage of the Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain.
Speed Channel's coverage of the FIA Formula One World Championship is brought to you by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute.
Welcome back. Michael Schumacher leads the Grand Prix of Bahrain. You're watching Takuma Sato and David Coulthard, who have just exchanged positions. Sato in the BAR Honda up to 6th. Coulthard in the McLaren Mercedes down to 7th. And Sato's car is trying to shed the little gurney flap atop the rear wing. But he is giving it a heck of a drive. Now let's check some replays.
Here's Ralf Schumacher going down the inside of Felipe Massa.
Giancarlo Fisichella.
Well, Giancarlo Fisichella, who goes and loops it.
He rejoined in 13th. Now notice that gurney flap on the rear wing of Sato's BAR as he dives underneath Coulthard. They go wheel to wheel. And then Sato actually gives Coulthard room to recover, but consolidates the position. Sato doing a great job.
Yeah, he's obviously losing downforce with that flap coming off the back. And of course, Sato is out of sync now with his pit stops because they're coming in to change that front wing, which gave him a bit of a break from a pit stop point of view, but he's going to have to stop fairly soon.
Well, we should see, yeah, absolutely, David. We should see Sato come in any time now. And when he does come into pits, I would imagine that the BAR team will simply rip that gurney flap off. It should be on some quick release bayonet fittings onto the back of the rear element. Best thing to do, get rid of it.
We'll take a quick break so we can be back when those pit stops begin. Stand by for more live from the Grand Prix circuit in Bahrain. Welcome back to the island kingdom of Bahrain and the first Formula One Grand Prix of Bahrain here on Speed Channel. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. Michael Schumacher leads. Kimi Räikkönen is out of the race. Rubens Barrichello runs second. There you see the running order. Mark Webber, the first car out of the points. Watching the battle for 10th place, Olivier Panis in the Toyota and Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW. Now keep it tuned to Speed Channel tonight at 7:30 p.m. for Speed News. Ralph Shaheen and Connie LeGrand will have all the latest news from the world of motorsports, and Peter Windsor will have additional post-race interviews following today's Grand Prix. You'll only catch it on Speed News tonight.
Toyota looking certainly better this weekend than they did the first two races of the year. They got off to a very bad start, but maybe Gascoigne's influence is being felt, because it certainly seems to be very much an equal here of Ralf Schumacher's BMW Williams.
Still waiting for the pit stops to start, so we'll take another break and get that out of the way. Patrick Head, technical director at Williams, looks a tad forlorn. There's Pierre Dupasquier, who runs Michelin's engine program. We'll be right back. Back in Bahrain, Jarno Trulli in the pits in the Renault.
Yeah, we're just starting to get into that period now, the third pit stops. In the next 2 or 3 laps, we should start to see all the front runners start to peel in. Here we go. We're starting that third pit stop cycle right now.
I have to apologize for a bad joke about Pierre Dupasquier and Michelin's engine program. Mr. Dupasquier, who's no spring chicken, actually got to know this new Bahrain International Grand Prix circuit by rollerblading around its entire length in 90-degree heat earlier in the weekend.
David Coulthard in the pit lane. His stop. This will be the final stop, scheduled stop for these guys. Mark Webber also in the pit lane. So yeah, we're getting fast and frantic now in this third stint of the race. Sato has been in the pits. He is good to go to the end of the race, and I believe they chopped that right section of the gurney flap off the rear wing.
Other drivers who have pitted for the third time: Olivier Panis in the Toyota, Jarno Trulli in the Renault, as you just saw. David Coulthard, as you've heard, is in the pits for his third and presumably final stop right now. The order is Schumacher, Barrichello, Montoya,
who is just coming into the pits.
Right. That will move Jenson Button up into third. Trulli in fourth. Coulthard is back out.
6.2 seconds of fuel is all that Montoya needs. Send him, boys.
Coulthard has fallen into a battle with Alonso.
Takuma Sato, after his pit stop, has dropped from 6th back to 10th. But in front of him, Ralf Schumacher and Mark Webber have got to make their stops yet.
2 Jordans still running. That's Pantano. Jarno Trulli. Michael Schumacher has lapped all the way up to 11th place Cristiano D'Amata.
Whoa. Boy, that Jordan suddenly slowed up in front of him, didn't it?
Yeah.
Very tricky braking for that corner.
The clouds are beginning to part overhead. We thought we wouldn't have sun on this race. We may yet see some. The 39 laps.
There's Jenson Button from P3. Now, we want to know where Montoya is when Button exits pit lane. 6.2 seconds of fuel, all they need. Now, just do it calmly, boys. Do it calmly. All right, good to go. Watch the fuel hose go. There you go. That's more like it.
And here comes Montoya.
Montoya sweeps back into third place. Christian Klein comes out. We'll look at his mirrors. Here comes Button.
Button doesn't need Christian Klein between him and Montoya. That's a bit of a snag.
Now, the next major pit stop contender we're looking for is race leader Michael Schumacher. He's going to have to come in very soon.
He has an 11.9 second lead over his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who in turn has 14.3 seconds over Montoya, and Barrichello will have to stop as well.
And here's your man, I believe.
There he is, right on cue.
Schumacher's in.
5.8 seconds of fuel if the calculations work out. Let's see what goes in the tank. 12 litres a second. Go. 5.75. We're not far off on that one.
Well, wow, Rubens Barrichello has assumed the race lead. You see, he is mired in traffic.
I was going to say a bit of a melee down there at turn 1, wasn't it? Weaving his way through some of that slower traffic, all of which, of course, is racing amongst itself. Not necessarily looking out for him to come bombing through.
With Barrichello out front, we're now adding to the total laps in this season to date through almost 3 races that Michael Schumacher has not led. That lap total is currently at 10.
Oh,
but Michael has not been out front.
That's a very poor program, isn't it? Hasn't led 10 laps.
That is amazing.
Rubens Barrichello there in the sister Ferrari. I don't see him coming in this lap. I'll give him another couple of laps really before we need to pull Rubens in to put fuel on. The next front runner we should be looking for will be Michael's brother Ralf Schumacher in the Williams, the FW26, and I think Alonso as well should also be due for a stop any time now. Marbles being thrown to the left and right of this track. Right, there's one very defined racing line going through those corners.
Well, as our very perceptive director, producer, general head man said earlier on, doesn't matter how wide the track is, it's still only going to be a one-line racetrack, because once this dust starts ascending offline, as the picture goes again, you can't overtake how wide the track is.
No. Have a look at the barge boards on the Ferrari. You see how the grip being blasted back from the front ring is starting to take the paint off. You see the red stripe on the barge board, the white barge board on either flank of the chassis. The red stripe has been worn away. That's just grip blast being thrown back. The action of the front wing. It's right there where the barge board, just where the paint's coming off. The barge boards are designed to turn the air as gently as possible, and air does not like to be directed. It's very much a free spirit. But right there is where the air is directed, underneath the step side of the chassis, to get the diffuser to work.
Is that right rear tire blistering? Driver's right, I should say. Had an odd shadow on it as he came toward that camera. Interesting to hear Ferrari team director Jean Todt talk about the future. He says, yes, we've worked very hard. We are the dominant team right now, but that will change. Everything is cyclical.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Here we go.
Comes the race leader. Let's talk about tyre if we go. I think it's okay, Bob. I think it's just well, I don't know.
On that inside shoulder.
Yeah. This should be quick. 5 seconds of fuel is all that Barrichello needs to get into the end of the race.
No matter.
Colleague there to help pull the nozzle out and away. 5.31 seconds of fuel. Get out of the way, son.
That was a quick stop.
Yeah. We didn't see it, but Alonso also pitted on that time while we were watching Barrichello and the Ferrari crew at work. Renault were also hard at work refueling their guy. Alonso should be good to go now.
What this graphic doesn't show you is that Schumacher has now lapped up to 9th place David Coulthard.
Braun told you they were going to have, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They've had different filters for the engine and different filters for things like the alternator cooling and that sort of stuff. Is that right?
Yes, Ferrari brought some heavy mesh pleated filters. All the air filters on Formula One cars are made of. They're made into pleats to sort of maximize the surface area over the car in exactly the same way that the meshes in front of the radiators use the same principle. A little bit of tape or something coming off the back of the BAR there, I noticed. I don't know if that's just helicopter tape used to seal the bodywork down. But you're right, David. Ferrari and all the teams developed heavy-grade air filters to try and control the dust. And then after the first day's running on Friday, they were going to have a look at it and see what sort of damage was being caused to the engine, how much of that grit was getting through the air filter. Of course, they don't want to use those thick air filters if possible because it saps engine power. You want to use as light a grade of filter as possible. But I don't believe the dust has been such a problem here as they thought. I mean, yesterday we saw the track really change out of recognition and those great plumes of dust disappeared. And,
but of course, the dust here is going to be abrasive, isn't it? Because there's got so much sand content.
Yeah, it is very sharp and very abrasive sand. And they've also had that same thing about the track. The grip has increased enormously, of course. But at the same time, the track is very abrasive.
Saw Ralf Schumacher. He has not made a third stop. Running in 6th right now, as you see, just 2 stops.
Sato 7th, Alonso 8th. This is going to be a bit of a battle right to finish. This is where they were 2 weeks ago in Malaysia when Sato blew up with just 4 laps to go. Both of them coming from the back at that stage. Alonso coming from the back today. This is battling for the last point in the race, 7th and 8th. Or the last 2 points in the race. Alonso lost a bit of momentum a moment ago. That's a good corner to be quick on.
Now, we've been talking about brake wear around this circuit really since yesterday, and again those clouds of dust coming out. Now we're into that final 3rd stint of the race. This is where the guys are going to have to take care of those brakes and nurse them as much as possible. And this is where the weaknesses are going to show up. Remember, as the material starts to wear away from the 28mm thick, which is about 1.25 inches or so of material on them, but the more material that wears off, the less material there is to dissipate the heat. So you can't get rid of the temperature increases, and you kind of come into a catch-22 situation.
It gets worse and worse.
Yeah. Just...
wow, look at that. Montoya to Button. Button just having got around Christian Clean. Took him all those laps. What's that, 4 or 5 laps is their last pit stop? No, make that 3. But I mean, he took him all that time to get past Christian Clean, and he's not that far behind Montoya.
Ralf Schumacher is making his final pit stop as we speak. He will drop out of the points-paying positions, probably wind up 9th or 10th.
Button's last lap was a 1:32.28. Montoya's last lap a 1:33.33.
You see there's the front discs, the rotors on the BAR glowing red right through the corner into the over the apex, and actually at the exit they're still glowing cherry red, so they're just not being able to dissipate the heat off. I'm not saying there's been any sort of doom on, oh look at it there, but it just becomes more and more difficult to control the temperatures on the brakes. As I say, more material that wears off.
Ooh. Alonso.
Oh. What happened to Sato there? So Alonso just suddenly rushed up on him, didn't he? And that's to lock everything up. Woo!
Yeah.
I think he just outbraked himself, probably.
Unless Sato is struggling with his brakes and is being much more careful.
Well, thinking back to Canada last year, we saw, oh yeah, absolutely, these boys are in big trouble. This is exactly what we saw at the closing stages of Canada.
He's got... You can actually see through them, can't
you? You can actually see the cooling vents, yeah.
Wow. Montoya is definitely slowing up here.
He is, and Button is closing in rapidly.
Speeding up. But of course, getting around him is going to be a lot pretty difficult to do in the next 11 laps.
Montoya in Canada in the closing stages desperately trying to control his brake wear, and the 2 Ferraris,
oops! One of the minorities, that's Jolt Baumgartner.
Oh, looks like
there goes the forward lump.
A surplus of smoke in the engine bay.
Because of CRL, the 72-degree engine, but the thing is, it's 3 years old, and now it wasn't designed for really to be run in this one engine per Grand Prix weekend single engine formula.
Gap 2.7 seconds now from Montoya to Button. That was the previous lap number. And I think you can see Juan Pablo's head tilted over in the cockpit. He's watching his mirrors for the BAR Honda looming up behind. Plenty of drama still to come. We'll be back with more from the Grand Prix of Bahrain. Here's a look at our race reset from the first Grand Prix of Bahrain. Start of the race, great getaway for the Ferraris, especially Rubens Barrichello to the left on the dirty line as the field spread out across the width of this amazing new racetrack.
And they all filed through turn 1 and 2 without incident. And this is Sato getting past Schumacher. And at first of all, I thought it was a racing accident, but I think Schumacher just gave him no room. See, he tries to cut across. I mean, Sato is already on the curb, and Schumacher cut right down on him. He had no hope.
2 races, no race finishes for Kimi Räikkönen. Make that 3 for 3 as his McLaren Mercedes went up in spectacular fashion.
Good for Sato's
the front wing on the BAR collapse. We thought, well, I thought it was probably suspension damage as well, but didn't seem to be. Sato's still in the race.
Now back to live pictures. This is Jarno Trulli going by Juan Pablo Montoya for 4th. Recall that Montoya was running 3rd, but he was caught by Jenson Button and could not fight back. And now he has lost 4th place to Trulli. Let's take another look. This is Montoya leading Button. Button goes down the inside of the BAR, gets a little bit wide. The Williams comes back, but suddenly Montoya just cannot get off the corner.
I would say that he's probably stuck in a gear. Maybe like 5th. Obviously, something's affecting the performance of the car badly, but there's no smoke around him, so that allowed, obviously, Button to get by. And then, of course, along came Jarno Trulli. This is the battle between Sato and Alonso, another battle between Renault and Honda. This battle is for 6th and 7th, so there's points at stake here.
Slower traffic ahead.
Takuma Sato actually having a pretty good day today.
He is. for saying the troubles he's had with the car and with the team in the pits.
While these two battle, they will be drawing up on the crippled car of Juan Pablo Montoya.
So this battle could turn into a battle for
fourth place.
Sato now being hedged in by that Jordan in front of him. It's not making life easy for him. Boy, oh boy, Alonso's really got him in his crosshairs of his sights, hasn't he? Alonso, Jordan.
Alonso's racing in front of his country's king. Juan Carlos of Spain is here.
Crikey.
There's a lot of dust there.
There was a lot of dust there.
That was.
Alonso right under the wing of the Honda as they come down into turn one. This is such a key opportunity for overtaking. Sato not doing any blocking, which he may regret, but no. On board with Alonso. The Honda probably got just a little bit more grunt than the Renault.
David Coulthard in the pits.
Coulthard in, yeah, and most definitely not a scheduled stop. You can see
fourth stop.
Are they replenishing that with that gauge? Are they replenishing the valve?
Difficult to see there, but I think you're right, David. It looked like they were topping up the pneumatics on the car.
Some pressure gauge they had there.
Juan Pablo Montoya less than 20 seconds ahead of this pair, Sato and Alonso, as McLaren's season of woe continues.
Montoya doing 39s, these two guys doing 33, so they should catch him.
There it is. He didn't get there. I was just going to say there must have been all sorts of trouble to bring Coulthard in for that unscheduled stop to top up the pneumatics.
Last year, McLaren won the first two races of the year. They were second in the third race of the season. What a difference a year makes. McLaren has not had a season like this in over 20 years.
I saw it. Oh dear, what are they going to do? I'll tell you, seriously, I would scrap the thing and get the 17D out.
Last year's car, yep.
They better get last year's engine out while they're at it too.
Yeah, this is a brand new engine designed by Mercedes in Ilmore. The FO110 Q engine for that car, just doing nothing.
And of course the irony is the 19 was the first car on track in the off-season for testing.
Yeah, and went very well, gave a lot of promise. Everybody thought it was going to be terrific.
Checking the gap.
Meanwhile, this car here in winter testing wasn't showing anybody anything much. Everybody was looking all cock-a-hoop, thinking they were going to have a good day until the very last test at Mugello, when the Ferrari went desperately quickly, and everybody had a moment of doubt before they went to Australia, which was quickly magnified when they were quickest all through the sessions.
It's very difficult to understand what's going on for McLaren. I'm hearing all sorts of stories that the team has become somewhat fragmented. They've got people working on a new development car to take over from this racing car, for want of a better term. They've got somebody that's a team that's working on the composite transmission. They've got all sorts of problems with that. And they've got the team as well, the third of the team, trying to keep the 19D together.
We got an oil flag there and a yellow flag, so is that dust or oil?
I think it might be for that cone on the track.
Yeah.
There it is.
That would definitely be what it is. Well spotted. Well, Jenson Button again looking set for a podium, just 5 more laps to go. Obviously he's never going to catch Barrichello, 21 seconds behind. He beat him 2 weeks ago in Malaysia. He's not going to beat him today. Jarno Trulli just 5 seconds behind Jenson Button.
There's a word I guarantee someone will challenge you at Scrabble with. Bollard.
That's the right name for it. Traffic bollards abound in England.
They do that, David. They do that.
I think that's a line from the lyrics to My Fair Lady, isn't it? Ralf Schumacher has been hoisted up into the points, as you see, as a result of David Coulthard dropping out.
The Williams team won't be happy with the day's results.
Is that Montoya? Yep. Here comes Alonso.
I was trying to look at Montoya's disc for some sign of how they're wearing. Look, you don't see them glowing red at all. I think he's back right off he's just not been able to push anywhere near the pace. There's not even the usual amount of glow you would get off the disc. Williams are nursing this car to the finish now.
I think he's got a transmission problem, which means he doesn't arrive at the corners quick enough to make the brake go, Red.
Could well be.
And can't get off the corners either.
No, he can't. He's obviously stuck in gear somewhat.
So Montoya is now back in 7th.
Boy, oh boy, I tell you what. Well, Ralphie might get him yet.
There's no attempt to defend at all, is there? I mean, absolutely in conserve mode now. Williams trying to nurse that car to the end.
Hang in there, son, or what do they say in Japanese?
I can assure you they don't say that. Well, how about Jenson Button? After spending the first 67 Grand Prix of his career without a podium, he's now in position to get his 2nd in a row.
John, I don't know what it is about Sato, but whenever we see him in these battles, it really excites me. I love to see him at work.
Well, Takuma Sato had a very bad introduction to Formula 1 2 years ago, driving for Jordan. He made some terrible mistakes. He'd never been to any of the tracks before, don't forget.
Right.
And the car wasn't very good. He made some mistakes. The car let him down on numerous occasions. The team let him down 2 or 3 times. And everybody said, oh, well, he's junk. But, of course, anybody that wins the British Formula 3 Championship in the way he did the year before that is obviously not junk.
They're not junk.
Did a lot of testing last year with Honda and BAR, and really is, I think, is showing very good form. Obviously, his race form has yet to be tested because he hasn't had much racing experience. But he's doing all right to hold Alonso off.
Are we seeing a change in Formula One? Certainly Ferrari remains the dominant team, but the other big dogs now appear to be BAR, Honda, and Renault rather than Williams and McLaren. Woo, Michael.
I think Williams are pretty strong still. There's no doubt about it. They are very strong. They're not having a good day today. And a lot of it has got to be put down to the drivers. Ralf Schumacher, they both made mistakes in qualifying, which put them off the front row. And Ralf Schumacher made a number of mistakes today, including trying to run Takuma Sato off the road, paid the penalty and dropped right back, and he's pretty lucky to be in 7th, quite frankly.
A lot of discoloration over the side pods and the radiator inlets on the Ferrari there, again indicative of that carbon dust being thrown back. But if you think about Sato's race, had problems in the pits, and they've had to cut a third of the gurney flap off the back of the rear wing. They had problems with the front wing, and yet the car's still circulating. He's still concentrated on the race. As we watch Patrick Head, and he does not look pleased at all.
He doesn't look exactly happy with the situation. Apparently yesterday he was absolutely fuming at his 2 drivers for making mistakes in qualifying, both of which they agreed they had. They were quickest through the speed traps, they were quickest through the first, second and second sectors, and messed it up in the 3rd sector.
Well, Williams were forced, as were McLaren, to develop chassis to come onto terms with this beast right here, the 2004 F2004 Ferrari chassis. Williams came out with this twin-keel car. It's the first time they've ever come out with a twin-keel chassis, the FW26, and they've been on a steep learning curve with it right there. You can see the wide stance of the front wing and the chassis sculpted underneath. And what a misfire coming from the thing.
Being lapped by Schumacher. Montoya won't like that.
So that's really put the 2nd and 3rd team of the big 3 on the back foot to start with, and that has allowed the other teams that's been carrying on with their chassis design, i.e. Renault, with their 24 chassis, has come on leaps and bounds, and as we rightly say, the BAR chassis. New transmission, new suspension.
Final lap for Michael Schumacher. That might be a break for Juan Pablo Montoya because he won't have to do another lap with that crippled car. Right now, he's holding on to the 8th and final points-paying position. I guess Mark Webber and the Jaguar won't be able to get to Juan Pablo. 8 times in the history of the World Championship, one driver has won the first 3 races of the year. Alberto Ascari began it in '53. Juan Manuel Fangio did it twice. Ayrton Senna once. Nigel Mansell once. Damon Hill once. Michael Schumacher has done it twice. And with victory here today, statistically speaking, he is almost certain to claim his 7th World Championship. No one has ever won the first 3 races of the season and not won the title.
And Montoya, who was lying a strong 2nd to him, that is assuming they all finish this lap.
Yeah, and the Ferrari
It ain't
train
over till
just goes on and on, doesn't it? And it just looks unstoppable.
And Michael Schumacher slowing down now to preserve the win, allowing Rubens Barrichello to get close. But there it is, career victory number 73 for Michael Schumacher as he continues to extend his all-time victory record in Grand Prix racing. Looking for Jenson Button. That's him coming off the corner, I believe, with Jarno Trulli just behind.
Jenson Button, 23
nope,
seconds
that's
behind.
There he is.
There's Jenson.
And he'll swing over to the pit wall to wave at his mechanics.
Well done, boys. You deserve that. Well done.
The British press will no doubt go completely wild, like they did 2 weeks ago when he came third at Sepang in Malaysia.
Yeah. Dave Richards has made BAR Honda Britain's team.
And this will no doubt rejuvenate Honda's commitment. They've been a bit lackluster this last run they've had, having won so many world championships before, but this is certainly going to revitalize them, and if anybody can make a good race engine, it is Honda.
BMW, they're deciding to switch that lump off the second that Montoya crossed the line. There's Montoya over the pit wall, but the idea is they do not want to risk that engine detonating. They will want to strip it down back in Munich and find out exactly what's gone wrong with it. They do not want to risk that one last 3-mile tour of the track.
Jenson Button finishes third and moves to third in the World Championship, passing Juan Pablo Montoya.
Well, Montoya, I think, has been classified as 13th, so he did lose that point.
Takuma Sato matches his career best finish in 5th. What a day. 1-2 for Ferrari. We'll be back to Bahrain in just a moment. Back in Bahrain, Big Red triumphs once again. Michael Schumacher, 3 races, 3 victories in 2004, and the second 1-2 sweep in 3 races for Ferrari as Rubens Barrichello climbs out of the other car. And there is Jenson Button, his second consecutive podium, and another great effort for the BAR team. Both Ferraris and both BARs in the top 5.
That's only the 3rd time that both BARs have ever finished in the points. They are certainly coming to light.
Juan Pablo Montoya stopped on track at the checkered flag. He finishes 13th. Well, Ralf Schumacher, his teammate, picks up 2 points in 7th. And Mark Webber in the Jaguar did hoist himself up into the 8th and final points-paying position. While these boys celebrate, out of 60 race starts in the first 3 races of the year, we've had just 12 retirements. That is by far the lowest attrition level in Formula One over the first 3 races. That despite the new one-engine rule, or perhaps because of it. We'll be back in just a moment to Bahrain. Welcome back to Bahrain, where His Royal Highness King Sheikh Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, and I apologize if I have garbled that, which I'm certain I have, will present the winner's trophy to Michael Schumacher. is. Now, David, I know this will break your heart, but in deference to Islamic traditions, there will be no alcoholic champagne sprayed on the stage. Instead, they will use a product called Ward, which is a mix of local fruit juices and rose water. And for the record, the first Grand Prix in Bahrain is out of specification on its trophy. These things are very carefully regulated in terms of height and weight in Formula One. And the inaugural Grand Prix trophies here in Bahrain are 1/2 kilo too heavy.
Uh-oh, disqualification. There's your pal Nigel Stepney.
Yeah, race technical manager from Ferrari, former chief mechanic with Benetton, and the man that gave me my break and first job in Formula One. Ferrari's first English chief mechanic.
I believe this is the second place trophy presentation. The last time there was a debut event in Formula One was the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang back in 1999. The result was a Ferrari 1-2.
Very splendid trophies. I must say, I can't imagine what Michael Schumacher's trophy room must look like.
Yeah, that's calculated.
Big for one thing.
125 podiums in his career. 125 on the button.
The trophies look like replicas of the main tower that
they do, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, the Sakir Tower.
The Sakir Tower, yeah. Yeah.
But no doubt
I think Nigel's going to get it absolutely. I'll tell you why. He is the most hard-working Ferrari member. He was known in Benetton as the Punisher because he would never go home. He would work 24 hours a day, nearly 7 days a week, all the while. Made a colossal difference to the structure of Ferrari by controlling the pit stop routine and calming the mechanics down. He now works as race technical manager, coordinating the race engineering and the mechanics, drawing the team together, and he has made a colossal difference.
Well, a round of rosewater for the boys.
Jean Todt looking on there in adoration as his hero, Michael Schumacher, wins yet another Grand Prix.
Pretty phenomenal career. We'll take a break and return. There's more to come from Bahrain, so don't go away. Welcome back. That pretty much sums up the McLaren season thus far in Formula One. Both cars out of the race. And their preseason title favorite, Kimi Räikkönen, has yet to score a point in this 18-race season.
He's yet to finish a race, let alone score a point.
Exactly.
And out early, too. Early in Australia. Got through a bit of Malaysia out early today. Blew up on the first lap of practice on Friday. What a year.
The looks of that car park, it was a fairly successful day at the gate for this inaugural Grand Prix of Bahrain. They won't make up the $150 million US they spent building the racetrack, but it's been estimated the economic impact of this event will be around $75 million, and that will raise the gross national product in Bahrain by 4%. Wow, it's a pretty staggering number. No matter where you go in the world, some things never change.
Congratulations to the first three podium finishes in the 2004 Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix. To Jenson Button, third for Lucky Strike BAR Honda. Rubens Barrichello, second for Scuderia Ferrari Marlboro, and scoring his third win in a row for Ferrari by almost half a minute, Michael Schumacher. Michael, well, they say the epitome of the art is when you make it look easy from the outside. That's how it looked today for you. What was it like in the cockpit?
It was hard work because brakes were sort of marginal, and with tyres we had to keep an eye on. You saw, I think both companies, tyre companies, were fighting with blisters, so you really had to drive on a fine line, not push it too hard, not overdo it, otherwise you would fall into this problem, and that sort of makes it looking less spectacular. But I thought I'd just finish a couple of seconds ahead of him rather than half a minute.
Well, I was referring to the team, of course.
No, but it was a superb weekend. We worked our way through. It was tough at times. We looked reasonable on Friday. Had a bit difficulties on Saturday to get the balance right as condition changed. But in the final moment, we had everything spot on. We managed the first row, and we managed the first and second position. That's obviously the dream result.
Indeed. It looked like quite an interesting first corner, that very tight right-hander, bit of locking brakes there.
Yeah, obviously tyres are cold, especially the front tyres, and I started to lock up my inner side front wheel. I couldn't allow it to come off the brake to recover because it was anyway just on the limit in terms of braking point. So I had to keep it locking, which caused some vibration, which made it interesting. Those sort of 9 laps, I had to go with that flat spot, but worked out fine.
And when you have that sort of margin, concentration, is that a problem, lapping slower cars?
The biggest problem was to stay online, honestly, because it was so difficult and slippery, just going a little bit wide. And it happened once or twice to me that because braking was so marginal and tyres were slippery, were on the edge, that I just ran a bit wide. Actually, when I think I got by Juan, in the end of the race, that was the case. I came offline and I struggled immediately the next corner. So it was very tricky.
Thank you. Rubens, backing up Michael with a great team performance there, very dominant for Ferrari today. How was your car?
My car was great. Unfortunately, the rain, we had some drops just at the start. Didn't come my way again, just like Malaysia. You know, I hope that some in the short term the rain will help. Just because my brakes were a little bit too cold, and I needed to warm them up, but on the same time I needed to save fuel a little bit on the outlaps. So I had to. I almost had to avoid Michael on the first corner, and then he was very, very fast for the first couple of corners, and so he put a gap, and it was difficult to follow. But I was within 2 or 3 tenths. But I knew as my brakes were coming better, I would have a chance to race with him a little bit closer. But unfortunately, I had a small problem on the pit stop, so he opened up. When he opened up the 10 seconds, even though sometime I got it to 8 seconds, it was difficult with traffic and so on, and he was fast anyway. So it was just that 10 seconds that it was difficult to get it back.
Thank you. Jensen, another great drive, 2 podium finishes in a row.
It's fantastic. It really is. This one was a little bit more difficult. Starting 6th wasn't the best position for me. I was a little bit disappointed because I think that we had too much understeer in the car, which lost me quite a bit of time in qualifying. But it was good to fight through, as we did in Malaysia, and the car seemed very, very good throughout the race. It was very consistent. But again, as Michael said, you really had to be careful about staying online because it was a little bit dusty offline.
Well, you had some interesting battles today. You were following your teammate, of course, and you passed Jarno Trulli in the pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, the guys in the pit stops normally do fantastic jobs at our team. We do a lot of practice, as every team does, but they seem to be very good. And I think our strategy really paid off this weekend.
And how was it with Takuma? Were you racing him there or just sort of sitting behind and waiting to see what happened?
I wasn't going to push too hard behind him. You know, it was very close between what lap we were going to stop on, so I was conserving fuel a little bit. But then he made a mistake out the back, and I was able to pull alongside him and get past. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, Michael, I have to ask you, what was the rosewater like on the podium?
Smells very good, I have to say. Usually we sort of smell a bit strange, but now all 3 of us have a beautiful smell after a race.
A few words about this first Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix.
I think everybody here has done a superb job. They have prepared a circuit for us, which was very interesting to drive, technically very difficult, a big challenge. As well, the organization and everything in terms of pits and space availability, it was just superb. The welcomeness of the fans, of all the people here was very warm. So it was a very, very nice experience I guess we all had here, and we look forward to come back.
Thank you, and congratulations again. Now, if we could have some words from you in your own language.
Congratulations indeed to Michael Schumacher on his 73rd career victory. We'll be back to Bahrain. Stick around. Welcome back to the historic Grand Prix of Bahrain. First Formula One race in the Middle East. It's now in the books. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. Let's start wrapping things up with final results.
Well, yet another win for Michael Schumacher, another 1-2 for Ferrari. Jensen Button having a great run there in the BAR Honda. Jarno Trulli getting sniffed at the end there. And Takuma Sato had an adventurous day, but still ended up 5th. And Fernando Alonso coming from right at the back almost into 6th spot. Ralf Schumacher not having a great day at all, making a number of mistakes, putting them back to the 7th. And Mark Webber being lucked out there with Montoya fading right at the end there, getting that last point.
Further down the list there in 9th, and Panis and Damata and the Toyotas taking 9th and 10th. Felipe Massa further down, but look right down at the bottom. It's really been an awful day for Montoya. They're finishing 13th place there. Some sort of engine trouble, and we think nursing the brakes as well, so a lot to do for Williams. And right down the bottom of the list, look at that. Kimi Raikkonen and David Coulthard, the two McLarens, absolutely nowhere.
Well, Raikkonen is definitely the story of the early part of the season, other than Michael Schumacher, of course, who is now a perfect 3 for 3, giving him 30 points in the World Championship. Rubens Barrichello second, and Jenson Button leapfrogs ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya into 3rd.
And it's all pretty tight there, isn't it? Montoya, Alonso, truly all within 1 point of each other. Ralf Schumacher languishing back with 7. Takuma Sato suddenly coming on the scene with 4.
And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari having things all their own way now with 51 points, leading Renault in 2nd. Williams BMW tied with BAR Honda for 3rd. There definitely are some new kids on the block in the Constructors' Championship. And so the 2004 Bahrain Grand Prix is in the books. We'll take a little break before the San Marino Grand Prix as Formula One returns to the European continent 3 weeks from now. We'll start things off Friday, April 23rd at 8 a.m. Eastern with live coverage of the second free practice session. Then on Saturday, coverage of qualifying at 9 a.m. Eastern. Finally, on April 25th, live coverage of the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, Italy begins at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the Acura pre-race show. 8 o'clock, the cars will roll off for round 4 of the 2004 World Championship. For David Hobbs, Steve Matchett, and Peter Windsor, I'm Bob Varsha. We'll see you in 3 weeks from Italy.